Hello and welcome to Indus News Live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. The United States says it will review its peace agreement reached with the Taliban last year. In a statement, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the review would consider whether the Taliban have cut their ties with terrorist groups or not. He adds Washington will support the Afghan peace process with a robust and regional diplomatic effort. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's impeachment trial over his role in the deadly Capitol riots will begin next month. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the lower house will deliver the impeachment article to the upper house on Monday. Uganda says its forces have killed 189 alshabab militants during an operation in Somalia. The Ugandan military says the forces under African Union mission raided the terrorist hideouts in the southwest of capital Mogadishu. It said the latest assault is the biggest number of al-Shabaab fighters killed in a day. U.S. President Joe Biden has warned that country's COVID-19 death toll can rise to 600,000 before the pandemic ends. Over 413,000 Americans have lost their lives to COVID-19 and more than 24.8 million have tested positive so far. Pakistan has registered over 1,900 new cases and 43 deaths, taking the fatalities to over 11,247. Global COVID-19 infections have surpassed 98 million, claiming more than 2.1 million lives. And in football, Borussia Mönchengladbach beat Borussia Dortmund 4-2 at home in their Bundesliga clash. Nico Elwedi's double and goals by Rami Bensebaini and Marcus Thuram helped the hosts clinch the victory. Mönchengladbach have lost their 11 previous games against Dortmund. Well, these were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and now the news in detail. The United States says it will review its peace agreement reached with the Taliban last year. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said this in a phone call with his Afghan counterpart, Hamdullah Mohib. A White House statement quoted Jake Sullivan as saying that the review would assess whether the Taliban have cut ties with terrorist groups to reduce violence in Afghanistan. He said Washington will support the Afghan peace process with a robust and regional diplomatic effort. Under the February 2020 deal, U.S. forces are to leave Afghanistan by May 2021 in exchange for counter-terrorism guarantees. Last week, the number of U.S. troops in Afghanistan were reduced to 2,500, but a recent surge in violence calls for an early ceasefire deal between the parties. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's impeachment trial over his role in the deadly Capitol riots will begin next month. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the lower house will deliver the impeachment article to the upper chamber on Monday. Schumer said during the 2 weeks period, House impeachment managers and Trump's defense team will have time to prepare. Speaking in Senate, the Democrat said healing and unity will only come if there is truth and accountability. Meanwhile, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell's office said he was glad Schumer had agreed to his request for more time. In a statement, the office said the goal has been achieved as this is a win for due process and fairness. Trump's impeachment trial would be the first of a U.S. president no longer in office. Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has urged U.S. President Joe Biden to unconditionally lift sanctions imposed by Donald Trump. In an article, Zarif said the new administration needs to abandon the failed policies of its predecessor. He called on Washington to re-enter the 2015 nuclear deal without altering its terms. Zarif said if the U.S. ends its maximum pressure policy, Iran will adhere to its commitments under the agreement. But he warned if Washington insists on extracting concessions, the opportunity will be lost. Earlier, France said Iran must reverse its breaches of the deal, including ramping up uranium enrichment. The U.S. has accused North Korea of using diplomacy to advance its nuclear weapon development. White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki said Pyongyang's nuclear policy poses a serious threat to peace and the U.S. seeks to deter it. Sidney Seiler, the U.S. National Intelligence Officer for North Korea, says Pyongyang's nuclear policy has been consistent for 30 years. He said North Korea's diplomatic engagements have been designed to further the nuclear program, not to find a way out. Seiler also said humanitarian aid was not something of interest to Pyongyang. In the United States, the retired Army General Lloyd has made history by being sworn in as the country's first Black Defense Secretary. Under a law, Congress prohibits individuals from serving as Secretary of Defense within 7 years of active duty service. However, after approving the waiver, the Senate voted 93-2 to confirm Austin. In his message to the force, Austin said his job as a defense secretary is to establishing sound policy and strategy and assigning clear missions. Austin was the first Black general to command an Army division and also the first to oversee an entire theater of operations. Earlier, the Senate confirmed Avril Haines as the first woman to lead 18 intelligence agencies as Director of National Intelligence. Uganda says its forces have killed 189 al-Shabaab militants during an operation in Somalia. The Ugandan military says the forces under African Union mission raided terrorist hideouts in the Somali capital of Mogadishu. In a statement, the defense forces said the latest assault is the biggest number of al-Shabaab fighters killed in a day. It said a large number of military hardware and items used by the terrorists were also destroyed. The forces added they also disrupted an al-Shabaab meeting and injured several terrorists. Al-Shabaab has recently intensified attacks on security forces as the military operations against the group continues. Libyan rebels have agreed on most criteria to select heads of sovereign positions and the time for their nominations. This comes after the fifth round of political dialogue between the UN-recognized government and the LNA has begun in Morocco. A member of Libyan's Supreme Council said discussions are heading towards positivity and the participants are optimistic to reach the reassuring results. He said the talks between delegations of the two sides will continue today as well. Due to the division in Libya's east and west, most sovereign institutions have two heads. This came days after Libyan Political Dialogue Forum approved the mechanism for selecting heads of the executive authority. In Nepal, thousands took to the streets of Kathmandu against Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's move to dissolve the parliament. Protesters say the premier lacks authority to dissolve the parliament under the constitution and call for snap elections. Police say at least 25,000 people took part in the march despite coronavirus curbs on gatherings. Oli has cited internal fighting within his ruling party as a reason behind his December 20th decision. But the opposition blames him for derailing the government amid a pandemic that has triggered an economic downturn. The dissolution of parliament has already been challenged in the Supreme Court. More news stories coming up after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. U.S. President Joe Biden has warned that the country's COVID-19 death toll can rise to 600,000 before the pandemic ends. Over 413,000 Americans have lost their lives to COVID-19 and more than 24.8 million have tested positive so far. Global COVID-19 infections have surpassed 98 million, claiming more than 2.1 million lives. More on the coronavirus in this report.
The world's battle against the COVID-19 pandemic seems to be getting tougher and tougher as the time passes by. The first positive case of the COVID-19 variant detected in South Africa has been confirmed in Panama. In the United States, around 200 National Guards deployed to Washington have reportedly tested positive for the coronavirus. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported its biggest daily vaccine administration of 1.6 million people. However, more states including New York, Louisiana and New Jersey have claimed they are struggling with the vaccine supply. Meanwhile, researchers in the University of California have sequenced all forms of coronaviruses from natural hosts to develop vaccine for future outbreaks.
So why are we doing this? It's because we want to develop a vaccine that will protect not only for against COVID-19, but also protect from common cold coronavirus and protect from the next outbreak. So we are getting ahead of the game so that if let's see in 2025, 2030, 2035, there is another outbreak, then we will have a preemptive vaccine that is ready to stop that outbreak locally in that region before it spread globally and do the damage that it did today.
In Europe, Belgium and Finland have imposed harsher restrictions to limit the spread of more infectious variants hovering around their borders. Hospitalization in the UK is 78% higher than during the first peak in April 2019. In France, the total number of infections has surpassed the 3 million mark. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization and Pfizer have signed a deal to provide up to 40 million doses to poorer states through the COVAX facility.
Today, I'm glad to announce that COVAX has signed an agreement with Pfizer-BioNTech for up to 40 million doses of its vaccine. Additionally, pending WHO emergency use listing, we expect almost 150 million doses of the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine to be available for distribution by COVAX in the first quarter of this year. Together, these announcements mean COVAX could begin delivering doses in February.
Hong Kong has issued temporary stay-at-home orders for 10,000 residents of virus hotspot Kowloon Peninsula. This is the city's first ever lockdown since the outbreak. Universities across China have rolled out travel plans to guard students against COVID-19 risks on their home trips for the winter holiday.
China has asked its pharmaceutical companies to accelerate exports of COVID-19 vaccine to Pakistan. China earlier said it will give 500,000 doses of the vaccine to Pakistan. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said the directions have been issued to the pharma companies. Meanwhile, Pakistan recorded another 43 deaths from COVID-19 overnight, raising the toll to 11,247. Health officials reported 1,927 new infections over the past 24 hours. The number of cases has risen to nearly 531,000, while over 484,000 have recovered. The health ministry says the number of active infections in the country is just over 35,000. Renowned Pakistani mountaineer Samina Beg is set to attempt K2 summit in the upcoming summer season. The Special Communications Organization is sponsoring Beg's expedition. In the signing ceremony, Beg thanked her sponsor and said, together they will achieve the unimaginable. Her expedition is aimed at raising awareness on global warming, climate change and women empowerment. The team led by Beg will begin their trek to K2 base camp from Skardu in May. Beg became the first Pakistani and Muslim woman to climb the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, at the age of 21. She will be the first Muslim woman to make history if she climbs the second highest peak of the world. U.S. social networking giant Twitter has suspended an account linked to Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The account tweeted an image of a golfer resembling U.S. former President Donald Trump under a drone. In a statement, Twitter said the account was fake It said the company suspended the account for violating their platform manipulation and spam policy. However, the text and graphic of the tweet were also carried by Khamenei's official website. Australian Prime Minister says his government is in no rush to sign up to a target of net zero carbon emission by 2050. In an interview, Prime Minister Scott Morrison refused to take a new emission reduction target to a key UN climate conference. He said the timeline to commit to the target depends on the production and storage cost of hydrogen, steel and aluminium. Morrison added everyone wants to achieve the net zero target, but it cannot be done by just having some commitments. The Prime Minister said it is not about the politics anymore. It is about assessment based on the technologies. Saudi Arabia has opened its first drive-in movie theater in the capital city of Riyadh. This is a unique entertainment experience for the moviegoers amid strict measures against the pandemic. More in this report.
A homegrown chain, MUVI Cinemas, has opened up a pop-up movie theater in Riyadh. The facility has started featuring 3 showings per day. The movie theater can accommodate up to 150 cars while maintaining social distancing. Some moviegoers have described the experience as exceptional and enjoyable, especially in Riyadh winter.
Honestly, the experience of drive-in cinema is a great experience. I never expected that it will be like what I am seeing.
Who would have believed that this will be in Saudi Arabia? And yet, it's happening, thanks God.
Audience members are required to wear face masks. Viewers can buy food and drinks, but they have to take them in cars. The organizers say they have applied all the precautionary measures to ensure a safe environment for the employees and customers.
The most important thing is that we follow the precautionary measures to avoid COVID-19, and this idea is for citizens and residents to watch the movie and stay safe from COVID-19 at the same time.
Drive-in cinemas popped up in other parts of the Middle East since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, with similar venues opening up in Dubai and Beirut early last year. Saudi Arabia has recorded over 365,000 coronavirus cases and more than 6,300 deaths so far.
Sick of sexist playing cards, a Dutch woman created a genderless pack. She has replaced the king, queen and the jack with genderless symbols. Find out more in this report.
Indy Melink, a Dutch card fan, was explaining a game to her cousins last summer when she asked herself, why should a king be worth more than a queen? The 23-year-old psychology student, encouraged by her father, decided it was time to break the centuries-old tradition of sexual inequality in playing card decks that rank men above women.
I would hope to raise awareness about subtle inequalities as well, like inequalities in card games like this and how that does still influence people in their daily lives as well.
After a lot of trial and error, she designed a genderless deck in which the images of a king, queen, and jack were replaced with gold, silver, and bronze. Friends and family snapped up the first 50 decks of the GSB cards, which have images of gold bars, silver coins, and bronze shields. But 70 kilometers away, members of the Dutch Bridge Association were split about Melink's creations. But fortunately for Melink, online sales of her cards have boomed. Within a few months, she has mailed off around 1,500 packs, including orders from Belgium, Germany, France, and the United States.
In Peru, archaeologists have discovered tombs containing the remains of children thought to have belonged to the Incan societal elite. Experts carried out the excavations in the boundaries of a 500-year-old northern archaeological site. More in this report.
Peru is home to hundreds of ancient archaeological sites. Experts have now discovered tombs at the Huaca de las Abejas complex in the region of Lambayeque. Historians believe the complex, which is made of clay pyramids, formed an administrative and ceremonial center around 1100 AD. They dug up the remains of 2 children thought to have belonged to the Incan elite. They were able to gain further certainty on the date the children were entombed by studying sedimentation under their tombs.
We have found the burials of 2 children with the llama. These remains were found under a sedimentation layer which was revealed after it rained. We believe the archaeological remains are approximately 500 years old from the Inca culture.
Archaeologists have so far uncovered the remains of 49 people. They say the remains of a llama were also found nearby, along with ceramic utensils known to be used by the elite. The Incas domesticated the camelid to provide them with meat and wool.
The way these people were buried show they had some level of importance. The remains unearthed belonged to people from a high middle rank. They were people from the Inca elite.
The Incas dominated the southern part of the continent from southern Ecuador and Colombia to central Chile 500 years ago.
Manchester City midfielder Kevin De Bruyne has been sidelined for nearly 6 weeks due to a hamstring injury. The Belgian playmaker suffered the injury during City's last fixture against Aston Villa. De Bruyne may miss up to 10 matches, including the Champions League encounter with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Meanwhile, Leicester City's Jamie Vardy is also out for a few weeks to undergo a minor hernia operation. Vardy has scored 11 Premier League goals this season and is in the running for the Golden Boot. In cricket, Pakistan team held a practice session at the National Stadium in Karachi as they get ready to face South Africa in the first test of a 2-match series on Tuesday. Former skipper Azhar Ali said the Proteas will be a challenge for Pakistan despite playing away from home. Ali said Captain Babar Azam's return to fitness has massively bolstered Pakistan's batting unit. Ali was hopeful that the home side will be returning to winning ways after a series loss in New Zealand. Earlier, South African pacer Kagiso Rabada said they are expecting reverse swing to play a crucial role in the series, but he said his teammates will work hard to adjust to unfamiliar conditions. The two teams will also play a 3-match 2020 series in Lahore. In motorsports, Welsh driver Elfyn Evans has taken a lead after the second day of the Monte Carlo rally in Monaco. 7 times world champion Sebastian Ogier won the day first 3 stages but lost time due to a flat tire. Hyundai's overnight leader Odd Tanak dropped to 3rd overall with almost 18 seconds behind Ogier. Toyota's Cal Rovanpera finished 4th after taking the lead briefly in the morning and then incurring a 10-second penalty. Later, the Finn lost more time with an excursion into a field. The rally is being run without spectators due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now it's time to have a look at the weather update across the globe. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.